Hey, Eric Hart, Fighting for Daily Encouragement, number 14. This is April 20th, 2013, and this is part 2 of Taking Every Thought Captive. It's drawn from 2 Corinthians 10, verse 5, and it says, "We demolish arguments and every high-minded thing that is raised up against the knowledge of God, taking every thought captive to obey Christ." And this all started a few nights ago when I was at a Bible study, and I was totally distracted by a lot of negative thoughts, and it was so heavy, the bombardment of negative thoughts and emotions, that I could actually hear war drums inside my head. And I didn't mean to be distracted. I was trying to stay on task, but man, I could not stop these negative thoughts from coming in, and I was about to explode and just go crazy. And it's not good to feel that way. It's not good for me. It's not healthy for others. So, anyway, before you get to that point, I just want to encourage you guys to, well, first of all, as humans, we're so much more likely to take all of our negative emotions and all of our negative circumstances in our lives and snowball them, into you got one problem and another until you've got this great big problem, and you basically say everything sucks. Well, we don't do that very often with our blessings, do we? We have our good days, and it's just a good day. We get through the day, we don't tend to stack all of our positive things, all of our blessings, all the amazing things that are going on in our lives, and just feel totally amazing as a result. So I wanna encourage you to focus on your blessings and not your problems. But that's not what this video is about, and it's not about having a positive attitude. Positive attitudes are great. It's better than a bad attitude or whatever, but I think positive attitudes only go so far. I talked about that in my first video. But anyway, when we have these negative thoughts, which is what this is about, we are to take them captive and conform them to the power of Christ and to the perspective of Christ. We need to not let our thoughts run wild. I can have a negative feeling or some kind of hurtful emotion or whatever it is that's bothering me, and I can think about it, and I can follow that so far that it'll just take me, to wherever it wants to, if I don't stop and try to meditate on Christ and pray about it and say, God, help me to understand this feeling, or help me to understand this circumstance from a light that you would have me understand it. And even if I can't understand it, then at least help me to trust you with it, and replace these thoughts with something Christ-like, So that's one thing, turning your thoughts over to Christ. Now, I also want to talk about some of the things that can help you, I guess, keep a more healthy spiritual place. Your environment, the things that you surround yourself with, the things that you pour into your eyes and into your ears, is so important, because those things affect you whether you realize it or not, or whether you realize how much. I think everybody can agree that when you're around negative people a lot, it can drag you down. Now, people, there's an analogy about crabs, and about how the best way to keep a crab captive inside of a bucket is to pour other crabs inside of it. And as soon as one crab starts climbing his way out, the other crabs will start, grabbing him, pinching them, and pulling them down. And none of the crabs end up ever getting out. And there are a lot of people like that too. So, I encourage you to stay around people that are going to lift you up and encourage you, or either exemplify, righteous, some sort of, at least attempt at righteous living, Christ-minded people, I'm not just talking about Christians, people that say they believe in God and just do whatever they want. I'm talking about people that are actually striving to live in ways that are pleasing for the Lord. And, Wade told me something at a crucial moment that I needed to give this advice to my baby brother Will. Will was always trying to help people and stuff, just like I am. And I told him, Wade gave me this advice. He said, Eric, people always talk about how, Jesus hung out with sinners. Well, of course he did. We're all sinners. We can't help but hang out with sinners. Even when we're alone, we're hanging out with sinners. But Wade said, hey, Jesus hung out with sinners, but he could keep from being tempted, or at least falling from temptation, or falling to temptation, because he was Jesus. He was Lord. He was perfect, and he didn't have to worry about that. But people do. We do have to worry about falling to temptations and stuff. And I think that that hanging out with certain kinds of people, you can let loose and kind of, absorb whatever negative activity or feelings or whatever, from the kinds of people that you're around. So anyway, just want to encourage you that if you're anything like me and you do want to hang out with people that are, having issues or problems and stuff like that, then you want to reach down and help them. But if you're going to reach down and help somebody, to try to lift somebody up, then you got to make sure that your other arm is hanging on to something strong, lest you get pulled down yourself. And that's something strong that you need to be hanging on to is Christ. And again, I got that from Wade. Wade, thank you so much. And anyway, that's been very helpful for me, because that's part of what I do. I love to reach out to other people. Just like you guys have reached out to me. But anyway, sometimes you can't get away from negative people, and when you're in that situation, you if you're like me, you've got to pray. God, help me be Christ-like in this situation. Help me not be myself. Help me not say something stupid or hurtful or something that's going to make the situation worse. But help me be bold, and help me to be courageous to bring Christ's love and God's righteousness or whatever into perspective, and help me to be Christ-like in this situation. It's easy to be around some kind of person that's driving you crazy or whatever in some sort of way, and you want to go crazy too, and that's not helpful. It's not good, and that's what I'm always first tempted to do until I pray about it. God, help me out here. Help me be more like you and less like myself. Anyway, I also want to talk about music. Music is really important. I love music. I love all kinds of music, but it's important to me that I stick to the kinds of stuff that's really uplifting to me or encouraging to me or spiritual to me, mainly spiritual. If you don't know any good Christian music, then tell me what kinds of music you listen to, and I will give you some amazing Christian artists that can rock harder, rap better or whatever than any of this mainstream garbage that you usually hear. And man, I'm so thankful for some of the stuff that I've found. I used to think, if something was Christian music or whatever, like it just had to not be good. It just had to talk about the Lord or whatever, and it just wasn't any good. But boy, I was wrong, man. I know some awesome bands. But anyway, so sometimes it's good to just have quiet time. If you're riding around in your car, turn the radio off and kind of, meditate on Christ and kind of think about stuff. It's always good to process stuff. Even my brother's music. I love my brother's music. He's my favorite artist. He was, even when he was alive. And man, he's got some extremely uplifting songs, and he's got some dark songs. But the thing is, he poured his heart out into most of them, and I usually feel bad about changing the playlist or turning off the CD or whatever, just because of the emotional value of that. And, sometimes I just have to do that. Even when it's the inspiring songs that are talking about his unshakable faith and everything, sometimes I'm just not in the right place emotionally, to listen to that, and I just have to turn it off for my own health. And movies, usually when I watch a movie, which isn't very frequently, it's stuck in my head for a couple of days, and I think a lot about it, so I got to be careful about the kinds of movies I'm watching. I got to be careful about the kinds of TV that I watch. Most TV's trash, some of it's great, but you can discern about that. And I don't watch a lot of news. I care about the news. A lot of times I try to keep up with current events and try to find ways that I can help in things that, I care about, mainly people, things that involve helping people in need or whatever, so So I don't watch the news. I live in a city with a lot of crime and stuff, so it's basically the same thing every day. So I don't like to sit through all that stuff. Sometimes I hit the websites or whatever so I can pick and choose what I want to read about. So anyway, Facebook. I used to not spend a lot of time on Facebook, but I do now. And as a matter of fact, after Ava's plight in the hospital, I talked to Will later. I said, Will, so many of these. I mean, if you're watching this thing, you might be one of my new friends. That I didn't know before. And man, we met some amazing new friends on Facebook since then, or whatever. But I told Will, I said, man, I hardly know anybody on my news feed anymore. But it's different. My news feed is transformed. There's so many uplifting posts and posts about about God or about asking for prayer or just encouraging things and people that really care about their loved ones and care about other people and stuff, and care about us and people that I could pray for and help encourage and stuff too. And Will said, I know, I love it. and man, we love you guys. If you're watching these videos, that's awesome. You're looking for a place of encouragement. That's incredible. I love that. And I'm so happy, that I hope I'm helping out in that way. But the most important thing is taking quiet time. Get away from people. Get away from distractions. Get away from work. Whatever it is, get away from it. Get somewhere quiet where you can pray, where you can get into the Bible, where you can study, journal what you're reading in the Bible or whatever. You get into 2 Corinthians. Amazing book. Or, a lot of the other books. But 2 Corinthians is an awesome book, man. There's so much wisdom, and that can be said about the whole Bible, of course, but I love that book. Since we're talking about it, then if that's not one of your habits, then, or even if it's a habit you're trying to improve on like I am, then do that, Self-help books don't work because they rely on self, you can only help yourself so much. You've got to rely on the Lord for help, so get into Christ help books. There is a awesome Christ-based Bible-based book on just about any topic, probably every topic you'd ever think of, from panic to parenting to, marital, whatever. If you've got a topic that you want to read about, ask me, and I'll hook you up with some resources. This video is already extremely long, so I'm going to cut it off there. But I love y'all, man. I'm so grateful for you guys. I can't even put into words. I can never put into words how much I think of y'all, man. I think of you guys individually. I think of you guys as a whole. I pray for y'all individually and as a whole all the time. I'm blown away by your love, by your kindness, by your prayers especially, and I'm just so thankful. I love y'all so much, and stay encouraged. I love y'all, and when you are encouraged, then reach your hand down there and help somebody. Love y'all. Peace.